My panel would be on the benefits of 3D for education and how does 3D re-engage the arts in education. And I would like to see I'd like a Shakespearean actor or an actor of some sort, like a Simon Callow or someone quite established who has got quite strong views but comes from a theatrical background. I would like potentially someone like James Cameron because he is seen as the god of 3D, even though I would say he's more like the prince of 3D. But no, bless him, he's definitely, well, you know, he's got a passion for it, and I think it's important to have a passion. And the other person I'd probably ask on that panel would be a government minister. And the reason for that is I personally have a passion for arts, and I think that the arts always get battered, and I think that kids need to re-engage with Shakespeare, with all our dramas, ballets, whatever. And the only way I can, and natural history and all of that stuff, because 3D will bring it to life for them. And I have a saying, in a decade, that 10-year-old will say to us, what do you mean you didn't film that in 3D? Because their whole experience is not going, that 3D isn't going away. It might not always be a great experience, it may not always be the most creative experience, but 3D is moving forward. It's not going, we're no longer in that phase of, oh, it's a fad. You know what, 3 years ago somebody said that to me, and now they're kind of watching it and thinking, maybe she was right, because it's just not. Hi, my name's Vicki Betihavas. Everybody knows me as Vicki B. I hate to use this word, but I've been pioneering live non-sport, I have to qualify that, 3D. 1915 is a company I set up with my colleague Kit Hawkins at the end of 2008. The reason I personally love 3D and why I'm so engaged and passionate about it is because I believe that creatively shot and captured arts, music, entertainment, events actually are better than being at the event. And I love the whole concept that I can give an audience an experience that it's better than being at that event, so that when they do go to see the event live, if they've seen it in the cinema, and then they tend to want to go and see that event live, but then they're not so disappointed when they sit up at the back of the stalls, because it's more about the communal experience of being at the live event. But if they've seen it in the cinema and had a better than live experience, that whole kind of 360 experience for me is what 3D does. I think what's going to happen, and it's a slight way away, and I don't mean like 20 years away, but certainly in the next decade, the technology will have refined itself to such a point, and people's eyes will have adjusted, and we will have moved away from having to put the glasses on and make our brains do a serious amount of work, because the technology will do the work for us, because it has done as part of the evolution of technology. We used to wash by hand, we then had the washing machines that kind of were semi-manual, and now we have stuff that dries it for us. I know they don't iron it, but they do dry it. So I think what we're going to have is technology is in such a state that we will have monitors, because I don't want to call them televisions anymore, because these beautiful beasts that have gone from being 5 foot, you know, monsters in the corner of a living room have now become these sleek, artistic, beautiful pieces of art that we hang on the wall, but they've got bigger. Our televisions are getting, our monitors in the home are getting bigger. They're multifunctional, so you now can Skype on them, you can now play your internet games on them, you can watch your DVD, you can watch your television, you can watch your home movies. They're multifunction monitors, and they will have the technology to allow you to choose to experience the world in 3D. You may not always want to, but just like we currently have a choice of watching a black and white mono film or a high definition full-on action stereo 5.1 film, that whole experience will just continue, but in the delves of 3D. I think it will no longer become our brain that does the work. I fundamentally believe, I could be wrong, and I may well be wrong, but there's enough clever boffins out there that they will come up and they will be able to make it so that the television does the work. Because already the television does a fair amount of work, the monitors, where for the passive glasses, it's the telly that does most of the work. Whereas if we buy a not so expensive monitor, we're asking our eyes to do the work with the assistance of shutter glasses. So the technology has, you know, I don't know if I'm allowed to mention a brand, but, you know, LG have got their passive televisions so the television's active and the glasses are passive, so they're £1 pair of glasses as opposed to £100. So we've already sliced that price range by £99, and so it becomes much more of a communal experience, and the television is no longer £4,000, but it's £1,000, and that's in the space of 2 years. So I fundamentally believe that we will get to a point where the television does the work, or the monitor, or whatever we end up calling that piece of equipment. If I'm allowed to be brutally honest, and I love television, don't get me wrong, but the gamers can't believe their luck. And everybody in the beginning would say to me, oh, no one's going to wear glasses, no one, oh, 3D, no one's going to... And I kept having to remind everyone that gamers love paraphernalia. These people love sticking on headphones, they get wired for sound, they're bucket seats, they're in there. So finally these dedicated gamers can really be in the action. They are now so in the action that they can't believe they are now in this 3D zone in a way that they could only have imagined. So for me, gaming is definitely the panacea in terms of they've kind of got there. I don't know how much more they can do, because for them, you know, the headphones, the bucket seats, the microphones, you know, that whole paraphernalia that goes with the experience of gaming is not a foreign concept for them. So the fact that they are now immersed in stereoscopic 3D, heaven.